and darling viewers, it's Jen here at Chekherjoy. I am in fact still alive. I just have been struggling with, the pandemic and brain fog. And honestly, editing videos is not my favorite thing to do, so I've been avoiding that. But it's been almost a year, and I thought I should give you guys some content. And the thing I have been doing for the last 2 years is riding a ton of roller coasters. This may be my current obsession is with roller coasters. My brother is a huge roller coaster fanatic, and I also enjoy screaming at the top of my lungs. Also, the fact that these theme parks are outside makes it relatively safe. Last year, they were doing really good with social distancing and everybody having to wear masks. This year, with the vaccine, people are not being required to wear masks. It's not being enforced inside buildings, and it's not. Social distancing pretty much completely went out the window, even though the parks officially have social distancing guidelines in place. But it's mostly safe being outside, and I really love the adventure of getting to ride these coasters. This has also been a time where I went from only riding mid-tier family coasters, like the biggest coaster I rode was Gemini, to riding some much bigger coasters, riding my first coasters with inversions, and pushing my limits, basically. I also went from going to only parks in Ohio, because I live in Cleveland, where my home parks were Cedar Point and Geauga Lake. Then we started going to Kings Island recently, the last few years, as we've gotten older and can drive ourselves. But this is the last 2 years are really the first time I went out of Ohio to add more coasters. So we're going to start ranking everything. So I also wanted to know how many coasters I've ridden. I haven't been keeping track. My brother has a very detailed spreadsheet that he updates every time he rides a new coaster, and he's gotten to over 150, and I am nowhere near that. But I'm curious to see how many coasters I've ridden. Okay, so what are we actually doing? We are using Vote Coasters. It's here at coasterbot.com/votecoasters, and it is a poll where anybody who wants to can come in and rank the coasters that they've ridden. It is only coasters that are currently running, so alas, my former home park of Geauga Lake is not on this list, meaning my very first big coaster, Raging Wolf Bob's, is not on this list, nor is Big Tipper. So it's also going to be interesting for me because my brother also did this list already, and he and I enjoy completely different things. Like, he loves airtime, and I love laterals, which is when you go side to side and feel like you're sliding, as opposed to up and down motions. So I'm afraid of heights as well, so the really big coasters are not going to be on this list. We're going to do this as the parks that I visited, like, the first on this list, and then I'll start adding in by park. I will put the parks down in the description below with their timestamps if you guys want to skip to just your home park or just a park that you've been to. And I'm basically going to talk about all the coasters. So, let's have some fun. There is a thing in here about how exactly it ranks them. Basically, it's comparing first on one list to first on another list and which one got ranked higher, how much stuff is on each of the lists. I don't know. It's really complicated. It's a lot of math. I just want to rank my coasters. So if you hit this vote now button, it will take you to a portal that looks like this. You create a login. I've already done that. No offense, guys, but I don't want to show you my password or even how long it is, so I've already logged in. And a lot of the stats I'm going to be telling you came from rcdb.com or the roller coaster database. So this one you can search by park, or by coaster, or even by state to find out which coasters are in there. And it'll give you a list of all the coasters, both surviving and defunct coasters that are no longer operating. You can click on them. Some people have updated pictures, and it'll give you the basics. So if you're wondering where I got all these stats I'm about to be reading off, it's this website, which is amazing if you want to learn more about coasters also. There's a few other wikis and fandom sites that I also used when this wasn't complete. Or you can always go to the website for the park itself. So, vote coasters. This is what the actual voting portal looks like, and we just search. So I am skipping my 2 home parks in Ohio of Cedar Point and Kings Island. I'll do them last because they're the coasters I've ridden most, and also they're some of my favorite coasters. So let's leave the absolute favorites towards the end, because that's when the top ones are going to start getting difficult. Alright, starting off the list, in August of 2020, we went to Waldameer for the first time. This is a small park in Erie, Pennsylvania. It's only got 5 coasters total. This is also the first time I went to a park and rode every single coaster in the park, because these really aren't that big. So let's start off with the Kiddie Coaster Ravine Flyer 3. So this one's a small coaster. It does have a very pretty scenic route over the little pond they have. It looks gorgeous, but there just aren't many forces, because obviously it's for kids. So this is my starting point. Next we have Comet. This one is a wooden roller coaster that was built in 1951. It reaches a whole 37 feet tall with a 25-foot drop and has 25 miles per hour as its rough max speed. It does have some forces. I'm going to put it above Ravine Flyer 3, but it is a little bit rough. So when compared to some of these other coasters, it's probably not going to rank as high. So let's do my next coaster, which is Steel Dragon. This is built by Maurer Rides. It is a spinning coaster. It was first opened in 2004. It tops out at 50.8 feet and reaches 37.3 miles per hour. But it spins the entire time. Like, it just is free spinning. It doesn't walk at all, which meant that I ended up going backwards up the lift hill and then backwards down the first drop, and I hated that sensation. I don't like going backwards. My brother and I were not spinning at those points. Later, we got some spinning in, but I didn't really enjoy it, so we're going to stick it down here in between the two. It had more forces. You know what? No, I'm going to stick it below Ravine Flyer 3, because I really hated going backwards down that drop. It was not fun. Waldameer does have another spinning coaster in Whirlwind. It's not terribly tall. In fact, I didn't even find a height for it. I actually really liked Whirlwind. It was a lot of fun. It's kind of like a flat ride. So sticking it up there as my top one for current. And then we get to Waldameer's kind of main attraction, which is Ravine Flyer 2. This is a wooden roller coaster. It was built in 2008. Yeah, it is based off of their original first roller coaster at Waldameer, Ravine Flyer. This one is a terrain coaster, so it goes up and down a lot of hills using the actual topography or terrain of the park itself. And it also does this really cool thing where it flies over the highway and back. And also the top of the lift hill gives you an absolutely stunning view of Lake Erie. This park is in Erie, Pennsylvania. You're not that far from the lake, but because it's surrounded by trees, you don't really see much of anything outside the park until you get to the top of this lift hill, and then it's just gorgeous. We were watching sailboats on the water. It was stunning. This coaster is technically 80 feet tall, but it has a 118-foot drop because it does drop down into a ravine, and it maxes out around 57 miles per hour. So Ravine Flyer 2 is my favorite ride of that park. The next new park I went to was Six Flags St. Louis. We went in December of 2020. I actually went the week in between Christmas and New Year's, meaning that most of these rides weren't open. It was a bit sad because I love a good wooden coaster, and 2 of them weren't even open because of the winter festivities for Holiday in the Park. I did get to ride 3 coasters in this park, and I did a lot of re-riding of the ones that I did. My brother also rode Ninja, which has inversions, and Batman the Ride, which again is inversions that I didn't want to ride. Mr. Freeze Valleyed before my brother got to ride it. He wanted to. It was supposed to be open. It didn't happen. So the ones I did ride is River King Mine Train. This is an aero mine ride. It has a steel track but wooden frames. Aero mine rides are some of my absolute favorites. They have a lot of low-to-the-ground lateral Gs, which I adore. This one's a whole 32 feet tall with a 41-foot drop and reaches 37 miles per hour. It was built in 1971. But where do I rank it in between these? And I think I like it a little bit less than Ravine Flyer 2, but more than Whirlwind. I really love Aero. Aero is my favorite manufacturer, and they do amazing laterals, especially at low speeds, which I loved. So Pandemonium is a Gerstlauer. It is a steel spinning coaster. It originally opened in 2007 as Tony Hawk's Big Spin. This is 48 feet tall, 27-foot drop, and reaches 31 miles per hour. So this was actually really fun. I'm going to put it above Whirlwind. Whirlwind is just like a circular loop that didn't go very high, so it didn't do much. Pandemonium had the right amount of laterals, some height so that you got some excitement going on, but didn't make me nauseous the way that Steel Dragon did. Like, I rode Steel Dragon and thought that I hated spinning coasters, and then I rode Pandemonium, and I'm like, actually, these aren't terrible. So, I'm going to rank it higher. I loved it, but it wasn't River King Mine Train, which was like my go-to re-ride it coaster in that park. The next one is going to be American Thunder. It opened in 2008 as Evel Knievel. This is a wooden roller coaster designed by Great Coasters International, or GCI. It reaches a max height of 82 feet and 48 miles per hour. I actually really enjoyed this, and I do love me a wooden roller coaster, but I think Rivian Flyer 2 was more fun. These are both absolutely solid wooden coasters, but I honestly can't tell you much about American Thunder's layout, whereas I definitely remember Rivian Flyer 2 with it going over the highway and getting to see the lake. So this is my ranking off these two parks. The rest of these we didn't get to ride, or I wasn't ready to ride these when we went to St. Louis. So the next park I've got is Hersheypark in Hershey, Pennsylvania. It opened in 1906, so the first time I went was in July of 2021. I did ride quite a few of these, with some notable firsts for me. So let's start off with their Aero Mine Ride in Trailblazer. This opened in 1974. Its height is 43 feet, and one source said 35 miles per hour as its top speed. The park is trying to claim it can get up to 45 miles per hour, so somewhere in there. The highlight of Trailblazer, though, is that it has a really low to the ground, really fast helix, which is just amazing and stunning, and I loved it so much. So I'm going to rank it up here. Ooh, definitely above River King. Do I like it more than American Thunder? You know what? I can remember this coaster very distinctly, so we're going to rank it above American Thunder. Okay, next coaster at that park is Comet at Hershey. Not to be compared with Comet at Waldameer. This is a PTC wooden coaster. It was built in 1946. It is 84 feet tall and reaches 50 miles per hour. I liked this coaster. It wasn't horrible. It also just wasn't standout, not even standout within this park itself. So it's probably going to go in the middle here. I'm going to put it below Pandemonium, maybe. It's really tough. Really tough. Yeah, that's my middle of the park. It was fun, but I don't truly remember it kind of standing. Also over there was a Wild Mouse by Mack Rides. So this is a steel coaster. Wild Mouses are known for having really tight laterals. They don't go terribly fast, but you do those turns at like a really tight banking, so you get a lot of laterals. This one's 45.9 feet tall and 28 miles per hour. The thing is, it didn't really have much force to it. Maybe I had hyped this ride because I love laterals so much to think that this Wild Mouse was going to be more exciting than it was. But I didn't love it. So we're going to stick it down here below Whirlwind, but above Comet, which was rough. Yeah, inoffensive, but not amazing. Which takes us to Wildcat at Hersheypark. This is a wooden roller coaster by Great International. It was built in 1996. It's 106 feet tall and reaches 50 miles per hour. Oh, Wildcat was so rough. It needs work. It needs a lot of retracking. This coaster was, it traumatized me. It traumatized me and gave me flashbacks to riding Mean Streak at Cedar Point, which is also really, really rough. Thankfully, Mean Streak got an overhaul and became Steel Vengeance. Wildcat has not gotten that overhaul, and we rode it once, and I was just traumatized, and I hated it. So it's my least favorite coaster. Just gonna sit down there is something that I hated. Like, I did not enjoy that ride at all. So rough. So for a palate cleanser, we went and rode Laugh Track after that, which is an indoor spinning coaster. It is themed to a fun house. Yeah, so much fun. This one is built by Mauer Rides in 2015. It reaches 51 feet high and 40 miles per hour, supposedly. This was super fun. The queue itself is also indoors, and it's got like funhouse mirrors and stuff. It was tons of fun also. So the coaster was fun. It's got black lighting. Everything about this coaster was just fun and exactly what we needed after getting off of Wildcat. So I loved Laugh Track. The question is, where do I rank it? Let's start up here with around Pandemonium. Pandemonium and Laugh Track are both spinning coasters, and I think they had very similar layouts, but we're going to give Laugh Track the advantage here because of its really awesome theming. But yeah, I think it's still, I was trying to decide if it's above the Mine Train, and I really love me a Mine Train, so the answer is probably no. You know what? Yeah, it was better than the Mine Train. Let's do it. Let's do it. We're going to rank something above a Mine Train. Woohoo! Sorry. This is what I find amusing, guys. Okay, the next coaster on my list is Super Duper Looper. This is a Schwarzkopf. It is a steel coaster. It was built in 1977. It literally is just one vertical loop, and then it goes back around to hit the station again. So you're going in an oval, and then just doing one loop. So that was my first major inversion, the first time I did a vertical loop at all. It is, let's see, a 70-foot tall drop going into a 57-foot high loop, and it does it at about 45 miles per hour. This was actually super fun, and I actually found out that I enjoy vertical loops. So, Super Duper Looper, you are incredibly simple, but you were the coaster that also got me to try my first loop, and you have a really, really awesome name. So, where do you rank? And I think you're maybe around my middling coasters, though, just because you only do that one loop really well, but you only do that one loop. You're gonna stick it there. Everything on this list is obviously incredibly subjective. The next up, I have the Racing Coaster and Lightning Racer. This is built by Great Coasters International. It is wooden. It was built in 2000. It has two sides, Thunder and Lightning. They interact with each other and do not run the same course, so they are actually slightly different, although they have the same stats. They're both 91.6 feet tall, have a 90-foot drop, and reach 51.1 miles per hour. Having said that, the right red side of Lightning is slightly better, so we're going to do these similarly, but not entirely the same. But where do I rank it? I think it was more fun than American Thunder. More fun than Trailblazer? More fun than Trailblazer. So I'm going to do that, then I'm going to go stick Thunder directly below it. You can rank things on this list as being like the same, but I'm not going to do that for these two. So much fun. And that is all the rides I rode at Hershey. The other ones, Sky Rush never opened. Candemonium was way too intense for me. Some of these are children's coasters, or we just didn't get there. So I think that's all we rode. Next up is Michigan's Adventure. It is in Muskegon, Michigan? May I mispronounce that? It originally opened as Deer Park in 1956. This one is a very underlooked Cedar Fair park, which some really, really standout rides. The only coaster in this park that I didn't ride was Thunderhawk, which is a relocated Geauga Lake coaster. So we got to go see a Geauga Lake coaster. We also saw the swans in front of it, the swan ride, the paddle boats from Cedar Point. So we had a little bit of Ohio there in Michigan. It was delightful. But I didn't ride it. I wasn't up to riding a coaster with 5 inversions at that point because I had only ridden Super Duper Looper, and I also went and rode Corkscrew at Cedar Point. So when we got to Michigan's Adventure, I did ride their Corkscrew. It is an Aero Corkscrew model. It's steel coaster. It was built in 1979, has 70 foot tall, reaches 45 miles per hour, and it's just a lift hill and then 2 corkscrews. It's fun. It photographed really well. So where do I rank it though? And the answer is probably down by Super Duper Looper. I don't like corkscrews as much as vertical loops though, so we're going to rank it below Super Duper Looper. So there's my first ranking for this park. Let's see. They have 2 children's coasters. Woodstock Express is a chance ride. It's a steel kiddie coaster. It only gets up to 16.1 feet. Not very exciting. We're going to stick it down by Ravine Flyer 3. I'm going to put that above the coasters that actually made me nauseous and traumatized. But it's a kiddie coaster, so it doesn't really do much. Next up is Zach Zoomer's. It's their other kiddie family coaster. It's built by Custom Coasters International. It's a wooden coaster. It gets up to 41 feet. However, my brother and I rode this, and we thought it was going to valley and not complete the course. It was really struggling to get back to the station. So that is not a great experience when you're riding a coaster. Thinking you're not going to make it back to the station, especially the kiddie coaster. I hated that. We're going to put it down here at 18, between Steel Dragon and Wildcat. Terrible. We thought it was going to be fine because we've ridden Woodstock Express at Kings Island a ton, but and even though they have similar layouts and stats, the fact that it didn't want to complete the course is not great. Next up is Wolverine Wildcat. So this is a Din Corporation Woody. It was built in 1988. It reaches 80 feet high, 55 miles per hour. This is patterned off of Phoenix at Knoebels, which is a wooden coaster that Din Corporation relocated, and then they're like, hey, we have the plans for this, let's build our own coaster. I haven't ridden Phoenix at Knoebels. My brother has. He says it's a really solid ride, but Wolverine Wildcat wasn't that. It wasn't awful, though. It was actually really hilarious. Like, part of the way through this coaster, I just started laughing and could not stop. It was so much fun. It was absolute delight to ride. I really loved Wolverine Wildcat so much. Like, seriously, was cracking up and laughing the entire ride. And it's not something this coaster should really be doing, but I did not have a ride on this coaster where I was not having fun. So we are going to stick it up here. I'm going to rank it above American Thunder, but oh, that's tough. Trailblazer has that standout helix. Wolverine Wildcat does not have a standout moment other than the fact that I was just cracking up the entire time. The other ride is Shivering Timbers. This is a Custom Coasters International wood coaster built in 1988. It's 122 feet tall, 57 miles per hour. It's also 5,383 feet long, making it the 4th longest wooden roller coaster in the world. Thing is, the restraints on this ride, I am chubby, and this ride, the restraint on it managed to hit me, the lap bar managed to hit me like right in the gut, and every time we did an airtime hill, the restraint went up, pushed my stomach in, and literally knocked the wind out of me. I know my brother didn't have this problem because he rewrote it a ton, but I rode it once and was done because it was physically painful. Yeah, that was not a fun experience for me. And this is basically just an airtime machine. It goes and does a ton of hills with a ton of airtime. So I got the wind knocked out of me a lot. So it's better than Wildcat. I will give it that. Maybe one day I will go back and try a different ride, but right now it's down here with the coaster I didn't think was going to complete the course. But you know what? The coaster that didn't complete the course didn't cause me physical pain. So, Zach Zoomers, you're slightly better than Shivering Timbers. And then my favorite ride at this park is an Aero Wild Mouse. This is what I thought a Wild Mouse was going to be. So this is a steel coaster built in 1999. It's 60 feet tallish. I can't read my notes. And reaches 33 miles per hour. But Aero does lateral so well, and this Wild Mouse is a prime example of that, and it was amazing. So good. Like, I love this coaster. Like, it's worth going back to Michigan's Adventure just to ride Mad Mouse again. The question is, where does it fit up here? It's definitely better than Trailblazer. Did I like it more than Lightning Racer or Ravine Flyer 2, though? You know what? Yes. Yes. I passionately love this Wild Mouse. We're going to stick at the top of the list for now, guys. That is my favorite coaster currently. I told you I love Arrow, and I love love the Wild Mouse. So the next park on my list is Six Flags Great America in Gurnee, Illinois. It's outside of Chicago. This opened in 1976 as Marriott's Great America. And this is one where I started riding more complicated rides. But I still didn't ride everything in this park. So you're going to see some massive exclusions, especially in the really tall, bigger rides. So, starting off the list, let's go with the kiddie coaster Little Dipper. This is a PTC Woody. It was relocated in 2010. It was originally built in 1950 for a park called Kiddieland, also in Illinois. It gets to a whole 28 feet tall. It's really small, but a super fun kiddie coaster. So I'm going to put it by my other kiddie coasters. I am going to put it above Ravine Flyer 3. You know what? Actually, it's more fun than the Wild Mouse that didn't do any much. So yeah, that's where Little Dipper goes. I also enjoyed this because they had a lot of historical stuff in the ride queue to look at, like other wooden coasters in Six Flags at the time, 2010, when they relocated this, and also the history of this. So adding into its overall presentation. The very first coaster that we line dropped in this park was Dark Knight. It is a Mack Rides indoor Wild Mouse. It's very heavily themed to Batman and the Joker having taken over the subway system. This is, I think, 45 feet tall. I had to go to a fandom wiki to find this. Six Flags claims that it's 3 stories high, so about that same range. It was fun, but it wasn't amazing. And I'm glad we hit it first so we weren't in like an hour-long line for this. I think we're going to stick it here-ish. Yeah, completely arbitrary, just sticking that in there around the middle. Next up I have Whizzer. This is a pretty unique Schwarzkopf steel coaster. It has a spiral electric lift. So instead of going up a straight lift hill, you are propelled up a lift hill that is actually a giant spiral, and then you do some laterals. The thing about this coaster, this also has some pretty unique cars. You are basically sitting in a car that feels like a bobsled layout. It's not actually a bobsled because it is, got wheels and is connected to the track itself. But you're sitting low with your feet out ahead of you. The restraint was literally just a lap bar and hold on to these parts of the train. This one gets to a whole 70 feet tall, has a 64-foot drop, and reaches 42 miles per hour. The thing about this coaster is that the queue for this goes underneath the ride, so the entire half an hour-ish wait we had, I was listening to the coaster motor, combined with being in a tight space during a pandemic where most people weren't wearing masks. And it's not enclosed, but it was still too much, and I legitly had a panic attack in line for this. So I only vaguely remember the actual coaster itself. I was still coming down from a panic attack when I rode it. So we're going to give it pretty low ranking here. Maybe, hopefully one day I can get to Great America and get a flash pass, their fast pass, to skip the line for Whizzer and try it again. But as it stands, it was not a great experience. I'm gonna stick it down here. So yeah, Whizzer was not as, I thought it was gonna be amazing, but it wasn't that much fun. Another disappointing ride at Great America was Demon. This is an aero looper. It was built in 1976. It was originally called Turn of the Century. It has a really, really awesome theme song and some great theming around it. It reaches 103.7 feet high, has a 90-foot drop, reaches 50 miles per hour. It's got a total of 4 inversions, 2 loops, and a double corkscrew. I enjoyed the first half of this ride, but the double corkscrew, the restraints threw me, like I got thrown into their restraints, and actually it wasn't terribly comfortable. So Demons down here did not really enjoy. rank it above Steel Dragon just because of the awesome theming and first half. But I didn't really love it. So then that brings us to Viper. This is a Coney Island Cyclone clone. It was built in 1995, designed by Dennis Starkey, and it's the only Six Flags coaster that they directly built themselves. It's a wooden coaster, reaches 100 feet tall, 80-foot drop, 50 miles per hour. Thing is, it's kind of rough and not fantastic. So it's going to be around Comet at Waldameer. I'm going to put it below Comet at Waldameer because Comet's rounding out a park's total layout. Viper, there's tons of coasters at this park. So yeah. Next up is American Eagle. This is an Intamin PTC racing coaster, so it's wooden. It was built in 1981. Only the red side was open. I think it was the red side when we rode it. This one reaches 127 feet tall, 147 foot drop. Again, we're going into a valley. 66 miles per hour. This was really fun. The only downside of this is you have to walk over literally 2 other rides. Like, the line for this, it's like a quarter mile to get back there. So we rode it twice in quick succession. Kind of jumped part of the queue to get back around. So it was pretty fun. I enjoyed it, but it wasn't amazing. So it's going to go down here-ish. The question is where? Corkscrew? Corkscrew. Maybe Super Duper Looper. I'm going to split up Corkscrew and Super Duper Looper and stick American Eagle down there. It's still in my top 11 right now out of a current 28 coaster, so top third. Not too bad. Almost top third. And then the last coaster that I rode, well, not technically the last of that day, but the last coaster I'm going to add to this list is Batman the Ride. This is the original Batman, the one that all the other Batmans are clones of. So this Batman was designed for this space in this park, so that's pretty cool. It is a B&M, so that's Bollinger and Maillard, but coaster enthusiasts just call them B&M. It's an inverting, which means it hangs below the track, but it also does inversions, in fact, 5 of them. So it's 100 feet tall, 50 miles per hour, has 5 inversions. There are 2 vertical loops, a 0 G-roll, which I hated, and 2 wingovers, which I didn't entirely love. But it was super smooth, and it was exciting to get to ride the original Batman as my first one, too. So, where do I put the original Batman the Ride? It was more exciting than Corkscrew, that's for sure. It did way more than Corkscrew. Put it above Super Duper Looper. I'm gonna put it above the Mine Train. I can only sort of remember. Where does Batman go? Laugh Track? It also had great theming, by the way, in the line queue. Yeah, we're gonna put it below Wolverine Wildcat, the one that had me laughing the entire time, but above the other ones that are kind of the mid-tier ones. So yeah, Batman the Ride is currently at number 7. Woohoo! The next new park I went to was Holiday World in Santa Claus, Indiana. It opened in 1946. Originally, this park was just flat rides for kids to enjoy when they went to go to Santa Claus, Indiana. So they started off as a Christmas-themed park, but they've added other holidays to it, including Halloween and Thanksgiving, which each have 2 coasters. We didn't ride the kiddie ride Howler, but I did ride Legend, and actually we went in September of this year because Legend was closing in October for retracking, and I can tell you that it needs its retracking. It's a bit rough. Not terribly rough, not massively painful rough, just like wasn't as good as I was expecting. This coaster, though, is themed to the legend of Sleepy Hollow, and you start off in the station that looks kind of like a church, or a schoolhouse that is also being used as a church, and the theming is that you are outrunning the Headless Horseman, and it has amazing theming. I enjoyed that whole thing to it, but again, slightly rough. So this is a wooden coaster by Custom Coasters International. It was built in 2000. It's 99 feet tall with a 113 foot drop and reaches 59 miles per hour. Where do I rank it, though? Probably down here. we're going to stick it down by Comet in Hershey because it's rounding out its park, but it wasn't as amazing as I was hoping for. The other coaster in their Halloween part is Raven, which is themed to The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe. This is another custom Coasters International wooden coaster. It was built in 1995. It's, I think, 80 feet tall with an 85-foot drop and reaches 48 miles per hour. This was super smooth. Well, this was relatively smooth. More exciting than Legend, but also wasn't stunning. So, middle of the pack for it. And we're going to stick it above Comet, over by Comet, above Comet, below Comet. Above Comet at Hersheypark. So close, you guys. Raven and Legend. The standout coaster, the standout coaster at Holiday World is Voyage. This is a Gravity Group wooden coaster. It was built in 2006. It is 6,442 feet long. It is the second longest wooden roller coaster in the world and like the 7th overall longest coaster. It is 159 feet tall, 67 miles per hour. It's a lot of airtime hills, so a lot of going up and down, but it also has some good laterals in the turnaround, and some good banking, so I enjoyed Voyage a lot. It's going towards the top of the list. The question is where? I think it's better than Wolverine Wildcat. As much fun as that is, this is definitely like a solid overall. Everything about this coaster is working in tandem, and it's an absolute delight to ride. I'm going to put it above our Lightning Racer. Ooh, I like it more than Wild Mouse. It's so hard to compare these two because one does really good laterals and one does really good airtime. I'm going to rank it below the Wild Mouse just because I personally really love those laterals. And then I also rode Thunderbird because this park only had 4 adult coasters, guys. So this is a B&M steel coaster. It's a wing coaster, which means that you sit on either side of the track. This was built in 2015. It's 140 feet tall, reaches 60 miles per hour, does 4 inversions, and it has a near miss element where you are going through a shed. You're not actually going to hit it, guys, but it is a little bit of a freak out. This was incredibly fun. It was my first wing coaster. It had some good forces to it. I enjoyed it. I rode it like 4 times in a row. So, it's up here. Ooh. I'm going to put it above Wolverine Wildcat, but Trailblazer has a really amazing really amazing helix, guys. Like, it really is great. Next up is Stricker's Grove. This is a really small park in Ohio. It's in Ross, Ohio, near Cincinnati. It opened in 1924. We first went in October of 2021. Stricker's Grove is only open to the public like 4 times a year. We happened to get there, be down by Cincinnati, going to Kings Island that same weekend that they were open to the public. It's only got 2 coasters. They're both wooden. They were both designed in-house, but patterned off of other coasters. So their kiddie coaster is Teddy Bear. They used the blueprints for 1935's Teddy Bear at Coney Island in Cincinnati. So Coney Island is the original park that Kings Island started from, and then they had to move it because Coney Island kept flooding. So really cool. It was designed by Ralph Stricker in 1996 is when it was built. It's a wooden kiddie coaster. It reaches a whole 28 feet tall. We're going to go rank it by the other kiddie coasters. It didn't have much forces. It's a solid coaster, though, if you've got a small child or you are not sure about coasters in general. But it really wasn't that impressive, so I'm going to stick it down below Stock Express and Michigan's Adventure. No. I'm going to put it there, slightly higher. Their other wooden coaster is Tornado. It opened in 1993. It was designed by Al Collins and Ralph Stricker. It is a mirror of Mighty Lightning at Rocky Glen Park in Pennsylvania. That was originally designed by John C. Allen of Philadelphia Toboggan Company. So this one reaches 45 miles per hour, 55 feet. I gotta say, though, this park was kind of sketchy, and their write-ups were not fully around checking restraints and everything. I didn't have total confidence in this coaster, so put it down by Comet at Waldameer, maybe? Oh, yeah, maybe. Over kiddie coasters? Above the kiddie coasters. Yeah, but the bottom of the coasters that I felt safe riding. Alright, that's the end of my new parks that I've ridden. Going to my home park geographically in Sandusky, Ohio. This is like an hour and a half drive for me, so we are here all the freaking time. I love it. There are 2 kiddie coasters at Cedar Point. Wilderness Run. It was originally Junior Gemini when I first rode it in the 90s. This reaches 19 feet tall. It's an Intamin. It goes 6 miles per hour. I know I must have ridden this. This is probably my very first coaster, but I don't remember it enough, and you can't ride it as an adult without a child now, so we're not going to rank Wilderness One. Their other kiddie coaster is Woodstock Express. This is a Vekoma. It was built in 1999. It reaches 42.7 feet tall, 28 miles per hour. But again, I rode this as a kid and I don't remember it, so we're not going to rank it. So, going back up to the very top of the list is Blue Streak. This is a PTC wooden coaster built in 1964. It is the oldest roller coaster in Cedar Point that's still running. It reaches 78 feet tall, has a 72-foot drop, reaches 40 miles per hour, and it can give you some really awesome airtime on it. But also it can be really rough, so it's a middle-of-the-pack coaster. It's a mixed bag. I think the more people are in the coaster, the smoother it is and weighs it down. If you really want some good airtime, ride the back of a car. Back of the first car is going to give you the best airtime. So Blue Streak. I'm going to rank you down. I do love riding Blue Streak, though. Like, it's a solid. If I'm going to the park, I'm going to try to ride Blue Streak if the line's not ginormous. And it's open. It's also the only wooden roller coaster at Cedar Point right now. Cedar Point, get more wooden coasters. Gonna put it above the Mine Train, I vaguely remember. But below Laugh Track, because Laugh Track is actually super fun. Next up, I've got Iron Dragon. This is an Aero suspended coaster. It's steel track, but you hang below the coaster. It doesn't do any versions, though. This was built in 1987. It's 76 feet high and reaches 40 miles per hour. The first half of this coaster, though, is really boring, has very little forces. And the second half of it, you get to go and swing over a pond, and it gets some forces going in there. So the second half's exciting, but the line is usually ginormous because this is like a kid's first step-up coaster from riding the 2 kiddie coasters. So the line's usually huge, and it's not really worth the line. So we usually skip Iron Dragon. But it's also a good coaster if you have a friend who isn't sure if they want to ride a roller coaster. Iron Dragon is super smooth, but not terribly exciting. So, down towards the bottom of the list. Comet, the Wild Mouse at Hershey, Little Dipper, Whirlwind. We're going to stick it below Whirlwind, but above Little Dipper. That's where I think Iron Dragon lives. Right there. Not my favoriteest, but when I was a kid, I also rode it a ton because it's not terribly intense. Cedar Point also has a traditional mine ride in Cedar Creek. This is an Aero steel-tracked mine ride. It was built in 1969. It's 48 feet high, 42 miles per hour. The downside of Cedar Creek is that it has lap bars that all go down at the same height and at the same time. There's no, like, freedom in this, so being a bit chubbier, I have to suck in my gut to ride it. Once the ride is down and I'm riding the coaster, it doesn't bother me as much, but it's not the most fun. It also doesn't have it doesn't have a ton of leg room, which my brother doesn't like, being slightly taller than me. He's a good few inches taller than me, but not terribly tall. So Cedar Creek doesn't have the best cart or restraints, but I do enjoy the layout. It also has a really fun sign listing the other Aero mine rides, at least the ones owned by Cedar Fair, Cedar Point's parent company. So I enjoy seeing my other... Every time I go on there, I get to wave hello to my other favorite mine rides. So, where does Cedar Creek go? It is below Trailblazer at Hershey, because Trailblazer, again, stunning helix. But above the one at St. Louis. So, where does it fit within these? Ooh, I think above American Thunder. Actually, Laugh Track should be above American Thunder. And then we're going to stick it between Laugh Track and American Thunder. That right? There we go. And it's above Blue Streak for sure. Then my favorite coaster in the park is Gemini. This is an Aero. It's considered a special coaster classification because it is one of the few. I think there's only 2 aero racing coasters that they built. At the time it opened in 1978, Cedar Point was trying to say this was the biggest, steepest, fastest coaster. That was determined to be a lie. Loch Ness Monster at Busch Gardens Williamsburg opened 2 months before and had a taller lift hill. So Gemini is 125.3 feet tall. Loch Ness Monster is 130 feet tall, but Loch Ness Monster only has a 114-foot drop, whereas Gemini has a 118-foot drop. So Gemini had the tallest drop at the time that it opened. It also said it was 60 miles per hour. Screaming Eagle at St. Louis opened at 62 miles per hour, like 2 years ahead of that. So I'm sorry, Gemini, but your only record was being the tallest drop. But I still love you a lot. Seriously, we go to Cedar Point, and I am like, is Gemini open? And if it is, I'm riding it for sure. So we're sticking it up here as one of my absolute favorites. Oh, is it a better racing coaster than Lightning Racer, though? I'm going to put it above Trailblazer. I'm going to say that Lightning Racer was more exciting. You know what? We're giving Gemini the advantage because I love it. Can I rank these 2 together? 2. And come down here to combine them. They are both number 4. Yep. I love Gemini. My emotional attachment to Gemini is there. You know, is Gemini better than Ravine Flyer 2 is the question. You know what? We're moving Gemini up. This is an emotional attachment. I am emotionally attached to Gemini, and there is nothing you could tell me about a coaster stats that is going to make up for the fact that I really love this. This is like a supercharged mine ride. It has amazing airtime. If you ride the back of the first 2 cars, so either row 3 or row 6, you can get some ejector time. When you hit the first, you go down the first drop and back up that first hill, you can get ejected out, which is fun, I can tell you. If you don't want to do that, ride a different row. And if you can ride the middle of our car, so like 2 or 5, if you want a really, really smooth ride. Gemini has so much to offer, and I love it. Yeah, I'm going to put it above Voyage. Is it above Mad Mouse? We're going with it. Gemini's up here. I love you. I love you, Gemini. I love you a lot. Wait, how did I combine them again? Come back. Shoot. Combine them. Put them back at number 1. Okay, I love Gemini. The next coaster we're going to rank is Maverick. This is actually the first coaster I rode that does any inversions. It does them really quickly. So I actually rode it before Super Duper Looper. Because I love laterals. Maverick has a ton of them. This is an intimate steel coaster. It's called a blitz coaster because you just go from one element to the next super fast. This opened in 2007. It's 105 feet tall, but it has its first drop is a beyond vertical drop at 95 degrees, so you go back under the track, and I hate it so much. It does have a launch start to it, actually 2 launches, and gets up to 70 miles per hour. Maverick's fun, but I really, really hate that beyond vertical drop. So, where am I sticking it? It's also generally got a line that's around an hour and a half, and I don't think it's worth an hour and a half wait. Do I like it? No, I'd rather ride Cedar Creek overall, so we're going to stick it below Cedar Creek Mine Ride. Its neighbor, they're next to each other geographically in the park. Corkscrew at Cedar Point. I told you I had already ridden that. I already discussed that when I talked about Michigan's Adventure. So this is an aero looper. It has a vertical loop and then a double corkscrew and goes back. It sits over the midway. Super photographical. It's super easy to photograph, makes stunning photographs. And it's one of the few coasters where you can stand directly underneath somebody who's going completely vertical over you, which is a really cool effect. Like somebody's upside down over you. So this is a steel coaster. It was built in 1976. It reaches 85 feet tall with 48 miles per hour. It just does the 3 inversions and then goes back. It's not terribly exciting. It's above Corkscrew at Michigan's Adventure because it has that loop. So that's where we're going to stick it, right above Corkscrew at Michigan's Adventure. I really love that vertical loop. It did give me some head banging at the couple times I've ridden it, and so that's not terribly fun. Okay, next ride is Raptor. I went to Batman the Ride in Chicago and then came home and was like, okay, let's do Raptor now. So this is a B&M. It's a steel inverting coaster, so it hangs below the track, but it also does a total of 6 inversions, going upside down. It's 137 feet tall with a 119-foot drop, reaches 57 miles per hour. Raptor is fun. It's not as smooth as Batman the Ride, though, but it's closer to me. Now we're going to stick it below Batman the Ride. But I love you, Raptor, and if I'm in the park and you're open without a huge ride... So some of these rides are like, if the line is huge, am I still waiting for it? The answer is yes, I am waiting for Gemini. I don't care how long that line is. Cedar Creek usually doesn't have a long line. Blue Streak usually doesn't have a long line. So some of this is like, how much of a pain is it for me? Okay, the other inverting coaster is Rougarou. It originally opened as Mantis in 1996, which was a stand-up coaster. It's a bit rough, so they redid the train so that it's now a floorless coaster, so you're still above the track, but your feet swing, and it feels kind of like the restraints for Raptor, even though they're the track's below you rather than above. It's a B&M, it's a steel coaster, it does inversions, it is 145 feet tall, has a 137-foot drop, reaches 60 miles per hour, it does 4 inversions. But it's kind of rough, so it's definitely below Raptor. In fact, this would be like a perfectly adequate coaster if it was in another park, but it's in the same park as Raptor, so, and Maverick, and Blue Streak. All coasters I'd rather ride more. Would I rather ride Corkscrew or Rougarou is the question. I'm gonna stick it down here. No. I would rather rewrite Legend and Raven than ride Rougarou again. Mainly, again, because it's in the same park as Cedar Point, and honestly, I'm gonna consider that in this lineup. I also went and rode Gatekeeper when I came back from Holiday World, so this is a B&M steel, it's a wing coaster, same as Thunderbird. So you sit on either side of the track. It opened in 2013. It literally goes through Cedar Point's gate, hence the title. So it's got a near miss element with the gate, and you do that twice, going through these keyholes. It's 170 feet tall, 164-foot drop, reaches 67 miles per hour. The thing is that it doesn't feel like it's going very fast. It's super slow. You really hang, and I hate that hanging feeling. I hate it passionately. So I don't love Gatekeeper. It's pretty inoffensive except for how slow you're going through everything. Would I rather ride Iron Dragon? I think I'd rather ride Gatekeeper than Iron Dragon. Although, yeah, they both have really long lines, so that doesn't even factor into this. You get to go through the gate, though, and you're going along Lake Erie. Well, most park coasters in Cedar Point go around Lake Erie. I'd rather ride it more than Rougarou, honestly. Comet, Raven, Dark Knight. I think that's where it's going. That is where Gatekeeper's going. That was pretty surprising to me. Coasters I have not ridden at Cedar Point. Millennium Force, because it's 300 feet tall. No, thank you. Also reaches 93 miles per hour. Nope. Steel Vengeance is a maybe. I might ride it one day, but that line is always huge, so it's not worth it. There's all these other coasters I could be riding. It also does 200 feet, it does 4 inversions, and as a claustrophobic person, I do not like the fact that it goes through its own supports frequently. So no thanks. I haven't ridden Valraven because I did not like the dive drop on Maverick, and this one does 2 of them, and at 200 feet tall, no thanks. And then I haven't ridden Top Thrill Dragster, the tallest coaster in the park, which is 420 feet tall, 100 miles per hour, and basically just goes up a top hat and then back down, so I don't see how there could be laterals. So if somebody doesn't like airtime or heights, I'm going to thoroughly pass on Top Thrill Dragster. Which takes us to Magnum XL 200. This opened in 1989. It was the tallest coaster in the world and the very first coaster to reach over 200 feet, hence the title of the coaster. It was built by Aero. It's got a similar car to the Mine Rides, but space-themed. This one gets up to 205 feet tall, has 194.7 foot drop, reaches 72 miles per hour. Although I rode this when it was cold out, so I'm not sure I ever got 72 miles per hour. But Magnum, such good airtime. My brother's favorite seat is row 3, the very back of the very first car, and you get ejector out of it. And once we got past the lift hill, I'm pretty sure I spent more time out of my seat than I did actually sitting firmly on it. Such a good coaster if you want to feel like you are floating and flying, and it was so much fun. We also got the very last ride of the season this year. We went on Halloween. This is the very last coaster that I've ridden. It was such a good last ride. Everybody, like, Magnum has some fanboys. And fangirls. So Magnum has some massive fans. My brother is one of them. Being in a train with like 20 people who were just massively psyched to be riding their favorite coaster one more time. The ride ops were also super psyched. It was like the best experience. It was definitely the very best ride on any coaster I've ever gotten. We also were on a night where it was, it cleared, the clouds vanished for a little bit, and we're riding it at 10 o'clock at night, and, at 200 feet high and above the light pollution, we got some really stunning views of the stars from that lift hill also. So all of this together, I really enjoyed Magnum. The question is, where do I put it? And it's good. This is an aero coaster, putting it by the other aero coasters. Oh man, it doesn't really have laterals though, but it does. It's one thing it does, which is airtime. So good. Do I like it more than Mad Mouse or Voyage? It does airtime way better than Voyage. So we're going to stick it up here. Ooh, I'm going to give it above Mad Mouse just because of that last ride of the season having so much energy. It was crazy. But also I really, really love Gemini. Like, I was sitting on Magnum saying hi to Gemini and waving because they're right next to each other and being like, I love you, Gemini. So if I really loved Magnum more than Gemini, I probably would not be doing that. So, alright, we're at 45 coasters. Time to go to my emotional home park, which is Kings Island in Mason, Ohio. It's near Cincinnati. Its downside is that it's 2 hours more driving than getting to Cedar Point, but it's totally worth it. Like, I took my vacation this year and we took 3 days and just went to Kings Island for 3 days and did not get bored. It is so much fun. I love Kings Island. This park originally opened in 1972, which means that next year is its 50th. The first time we went to Kings Island, though, was in 1992, and that was the first year of the Great Pumpkin Coaster. It's a kiddie coaster. It only goes 8 feet off the ground. It just does little hops. This is a steel kiddie coaster. At the time, I think it was Scooby-Doo, maybe. Anyway, I only really remember this coaster because my little sister was a toddler at the time and just was absolutely having the most fun riding this ride. And I absolutely love that for her. But I don't remember the ride itself much other than my sister being absolutely delighted in it. So I'm not going to rank Great Pumpkin Coaster because I don't really remember it even though I have ridden it. And also probably the first coaster I rode the year it opened. Okay, Flying Ace Aerial Chase. This is another kiddie coaster. It's a Vekoma. It's suspended, so it hangs below the track. Your feet do some dangling, which is fun. It is 48.6 feet tall and reaches 26 miles per hour. This is a very, very solid kiddie coaster, but it doesn't offer much if you are not a kid. So we're going to stick it up here by Woodstock Express. The fact that you're hanging, I think, makes it more exciting. I'm going to stick it above there. It's probably on par with Ravine Flyer 3. No, Ravine Flyer 3 has got that pond, making it more exciting. So this is a kiddie coaster. It's not worth riding as an adult, though. The other kiddie coaster at Kings Island is Woodstock Express. This is a PTC coaster designed by John C. Allen. It opened with the park in 1972. It's a woody, it's a family coaster. The first time I rode it was in 92, where it was called the Beastie, and I loved it as a kid. Loved it. And also it's a pretty solid ride as an adult. It originally opened as Scooby-Doo, by the way. So this is 38.6 feet tall and reaches 35 miles per hour. It's a very, very solid kiddie ride. It's definitely my favorite one. It's got enough forces to still be exciting and not terrifying. So if you are not sure if you like coasters and can make it to Kings Island, ride Woodstock Express. So if you're at Cedar Point, that opening coaster is Iron Dragon. If you're at Kings Island, I'm going to put it at Woodstock. I think Woodstock is more thrilling than Whirlwind or Rougarou. Rougarou? I am. I'm going to put it. This is my favorite kiddie coaster. Like, legit. Yeah. So, yeah, there's Woodstock Express. Next up is in Vertigo. We're going to go through the coasters that go upside down. This opened as Face Off in 1999. It's a Vekoma still inverted shuttle coaster. So it hangs below the track. You have cars where you are both sides, so you can either face forward or backwards, which means that if you're in between cars, not the first or not the last, you're facing somebody else. And it's a shuttle coaster, so it does the course, hits the top of a spike, and then goes back and does the entire course again in reverse. So there are a total of 3 inversions. You're doing them all twice, once going forwards and once going backwards. It's 131.3 feet tall, 50 miles per hour, but it is super rough. And the fact that you do these inversions backwards means that I couldn't brace myself for them because I didn't see them coming. So I ended up getting headbanging. Both my ears ended up hurting, as opposed to Corkscrew at Cedar Point, where only one ear ended up hurting. And that pain lasted for several hours, making it not a terribly fun day. So if you're going to ride in Vertigo, ride it last. Where did I put the corkscrews? Down here. We're going to put it down here. Actually, I'm going to put it down here by the coasters that cause me pain, because that's the truth. I'm going to put it above the coaster that I didn't think was going to complete the course. But, Vertigo caused me a panic attack. Okay, there it is. It's worse than Steel Dragon, which only made me nauseous, because that nausea went away in like 30 minutes as opposed to like 3 hours of pain. But I think it's slightly better than Whizzer. I don't know. Whizzer gave me emotional distress with that. So there we go. Flight of Fear. This is an indoor it's an indoor coaster. It's steel. It does inversions. It originally opened in 1996 as Outer Limits Flight of Fear, but when they lost the Paramount licensing, they dropped it to just Flight of Fear. It was built by Premier Rides. It is supposedly 74.2 feet tall, 54 miles per hour, and does 4 inversions. This was a complete and total blur. There's enough light that you can brace for stuff in this. It's not completely dark. And it has a really cool queue. It has a flying saucer in the queue, which is amazing. But the actual ride itself was kind of give or take. And in this park, I would totally ride other stuff. Alright, let's go to the middle of the give or take. Rougarou. Woodstock Express. Definitely worse than Woodstock Express. Whirlwind. Iron Dragon. Little Dipper. I'm going to put it above Wild Mouse. Oh, nope, that's in Vertigo. I want Flight of Fear. Okay, there we go. And then the next coaster is Banshee. It's the only other coaster in this park that does inversions. It has 7 of them. It's tied for the most inversions at number 4, but there are also 16 other coasters tied for that stat, and like 6 coasters ahead of it. So, because there are multiple coasters that have the same count. So technically it's a record holder, but 16 other coasters doesn't exactly make it unique. So this is a B&M steel inverting coaster that does inversions, so a la Raptor and Batman the Ride. It's 167 feet tall, has a 150-foot drop, and 68 miles per hour. This one has a ton of forces, and honestly, I rode it after in Vertigo, and that first time it was like too many forces, but I went back and rode it the next day, and I'm going to rank it higher than these two. Yeah, I liked it. It was fun. That's where my inversions go. That's where Banshee is. Very solid in the middle of the pack. Out of 50 coasters right now. Woo, I got to 50 coasters, guys. Okay. Coasters that I have not ridden are Diamondback because it's 230 feet tall. We haven't been back since I've ridden Magnum at Cedar Point. So maybe I'd ride Diamondback the next time we go to Kings Island, but I'm not positive. And then Orion is their Giga coaster. It's over 300, well, it's a 300-foot drop, and it's 287 feet tall. So I have not ridden Orion either. Although I like its theming. And the fact that they redesigned part of the park to be all spacey. As a sci-fi fan, I appreciate that. But I have not ridden Orion. And this is where Kings Island stands out above Cedar Point and why emotionally it is my favorite park. Because we still have 6 other coasters to rank that I have ridden. And these are some of my absolute favorites in the entire freaking world. So this is why it's better to drive 3.5-4 hours to get to Kings Island. As opposed to the hour and a half to Cedar Point. Because amazing! So we're going to start off with its opening day coaster in Racer. There are 2 sides to Racer. I think they are roughly the same now. Last year they hadn't retracked red and there was a definite difference, but this year they didn't and now they're both super smooth. So restoring Racer to its glory before its 50th anniversary next year. So this is a PTC wooden roller coaster. It was designed by John C. Allen. It is one of the last coasters that he designed. It launched in 1972. And this actually kind of started off a mini coaster revival. There wasn't a lot of excitement around roller coasters in the 70s. And then Racer opened and it was featured in the Brady Bunch, amongst other things. And so it really fueled a resurgence in building more roller coasters, especially wooden roller coasters. So it's very important. It also, created a standout for Kings Island. So this is a racing wooden roller coaster. The 2 sides run completely parallel, although they diverge halfway through, and then they come around on the outside, so you can't really tell who's winning. It's a bit of a downside. It is 88 feet tall, reaches 53 miles per hour, and is 3,414 feet long, in case you're wondering, each side. It used to run backwards, and I'm really, really hoping they bring back backwards Racer for next year, because I want to do it at least once. Even if I don't like going backwards. I've ridden Racer enough to know that layout. This one can do amazing airtime, but sometimes it doesn't, so I'm going to stick it below Voyage. The question is, where does it rank? I think it's actually probably less exciting than Lightning Racer, because it's just an out and back, up and down, and the thing that makes it stunning is the fact that it just goes up and down. Alright, we're going to put it down here below Trailblazer with that helix. Above Thunderbird. That seems right. That seems right. Completely arbitrary, but seems right. And then both sides are roughly the same. So, nope. Click the box. Click the box. Combine those two into one ranking for number 9. Alright, then we have the Bat. So this is an aero-suspended steel coaster. It opened in 1993 as Top Gun and was later Flight Deck. It is 78 feet tall, 51 miles per hour, and is the best suspended coaster that I have ever ridden. I love the Bat. Downside is that it's off to the side, off the beaten track. You can enter over by Banshee, but there's such a long queue that most of the time they don't use it, and there's a cut through around the exit where you can just get back in the line where it mostly is running to. It's so much fun. It's a bit janky. I love the Bat. Oh my gosh, it's got fun. It definitely feels like you are soaring and flying, and I like to imagine that I'm actually a bat flying above the trees, which my brother makes fun of me for. He's like, you're supposed to be running from the monster. I'm like, no, I'd rather be the monster, thank you. Anyway, I love the Bat. It's up here somewhere. Oh, I really love Aero, guys. So where does it rank? Is it more fun than the Mad Mouse? Ooh, it's more fun than Voyage, guys. The Bat is more fun than Voyage. Yeah, that's where we're sticking it. Woohoo. Yeah. The next coaster I want to rank is Mystic Timbers. This was Great Coasters International. It's a wooden coaster that opened in 2017. It's 109.2 feet tall, reaches 53 miles per hour, and has 3,265 feet of track. It has a ton of laterals. Such good laterals. There's this part where you just go from flipped on one side to flipped on the other side to flip back, and it's so much fun. They also themed the most boring parts of the ride. So the lift hill has a speaker yelling at you to go away, kids. Like, the theming of this is that it's an abandoned lumber mill that you're exploring. So there's a speaker that yells at you and tells you not to go into the shed, which is the end brake run. So they themed the end brake run too. The shed is so much fun. I don't want to spoil it if you guys haven't don't know what Mystic Timbers is, but the theming on this coaster is amazing. It's probably like the best themed Cedar Fair coaster that it's definitely the one that I've ridden. It's so good. I love Mystic Timbers, and my brother and I both agree that this is our number 2 wooden coaster. But where does it rank in compared to the steel ones? I really love Gemini, but Mystic Timbers, but Gemini. It's definitely better than Magnum, guys. Ooh, tough. I'm gonna stick it there. That's my number 2 coaster currently. Which brings me to the Beast. I said Mystic Timbers was my number 2 wooden. My favorite wooden coaster is the Beast. It was built in 1979. It was designed in-house by Kings Island staff, Al Collins, Jeff Graham Key, and built by Charleston, who went on to form the Din Corporation. This is a wooden terrain coaster. This goes over 35 acres of the terrain in the back of the park, making use of all the valleys and dips, and it does a couple tunnels. It's amazing. And when you ride this coaster, you are just going through the woods. Riding through the woods. It is so much fun. So much fun. It has 110 foot tall lift hill, but it goes into a 141 foot drop because of that ravine and going into a tunnel. Oh, it's so good. It reaches 64 miles per hour, but this is the longest wooden roller coaster in the world and the second or third longest coaster overall. 7,359 feet of track and has a total runtime of 4 minutes and 10 seconds. Oh, it's so good. It's broken up into basically 2 sections. The first section you were just running through the woods and blasting through it, and it is so much fun. And the second half is this ginormous helix. Like, it's huge helix. I'm going to put a picture up here so you can see this helix. It goes 540 degrees, but you're going at it so freaking fast. This is the best helix in the world, guys. This is the helix that caused all the other coasters at Kings Island to also have helixes. It's so good. I love it. I love it. It has the absolute best night ride ever, because you were just running through the woods. If you can ride it in the fall when the leaves are changing, it's actually just stunning too, but just anytime you're running through those woods is amazing. Yeah, I love the Beast. So yeah, I told you it's my favorite wooden roller coaster, so obviously it's above Mystic Timbers. Mystic Timbers is a solid ride. It's super smooth, brand new. The Beast is a bit janky, a bit rough, but it's so good. It's totally worth the hour and a half wait that there sometimes is too. Like, it's so freaking good. I love the Beast, guys. I passionately love the Beast. So, which brings us to Backlot Stunt Coaster. This used to be my number 2 ride overall, especially back before I rode the Beast and Mystic Timbers because I thought they were too tall. This is a relatively short coaster. It's only 45.2 feet tall. It has a 31.2 foot drop. The exciting part about Backlot, though, is that it does a 0 to 40 mile per hour launch in 3 seconds, and then it shoots you up into a really tight spiraled helix. And that is your lift. And then you come down from there, and it's a ton of laterals. So many laterals. It has great theming. It was originally themed to the Italian Job, but now it's just you're on a movie you're in a movie Backlot being a stunt driver. It is so much fun. But is it still my number 2 coaster now that I've run these other ones? And the answer is probably not, honestly. I really love that Arrow Wild Mouse. I think we're going to put it below the Wild Mouse, but above the Bat. Yeah. Yes, that is where Backlot goes. I'm sorry, Backlot. You went from number 2 to number 6. Which leaves the Adventure Express. This is my absolute favorite Aero Mine ride, period. It is a steel coaster, opened in 1991. It is 63 feet tall and reaches 35 miles per hour. It is themed to an Indiana Jones esque adventure. Theming is that you are in South America around the Amazon and you found this temple and you are exploring the area around there, but it has the best themed lift hill. The very last lift hill that it brings you through, there are like these guys in the temple that are doing this like drumming effect, and it is so much fun. The laterals on this is so much fun. The theming is so much fun on this. This is a really solid night ride also. Oh, by the way, the Bat is a really solid night ride too, because you're out in the middle of the woods off by itself and flying above the woods. In case I didn't tell you that. But Adventure Express has a good mix of, like, some of it's lit and some of it's not, to, like, stunning effect. So I really, really love Adventure Express. The question is it more fun? And the answer is, you know what? Yes. I have never not had fun on Adventure Express. There is Adventure Express at number 1 where it belongs, because this is what a coaster should be. It is just fun. It's not really terrifying. It's got enough theming in it that I can fall into this and be like, yes, we're going on a South American adventure, and yes, we're going to be Indiana Jones. So yes, I really love Adventure Express. It's still my favorite coaster. So here is my overall rankings. I'm out of coasters that are still existing. There are 4 defunct coasters that I know I've ridden that, if I could, I would rank them in Wicked Twister, which I honestly think should be on this list because it was open this year. It closed in September of 2021. It's technically defunct, but I rode it this year. I should get to rank it with this year's coasters, guys. If I were going to rank Wicked Twister, it is a launch coaster that goes up a spike. It does a twist, then goes backwards, goes up the second spike, backwards. It also has twists, and then you go forwards and repeat. It's fun. It's launched. I am gonna say it's down. Did I like it more than Raptor or not? If I ranked it, it would be down here around 20. Somewhere in here, I think. Really sad. The other coaster that I know I've ridden is Mean Streak, which was horrible, and if Mean Streak were on the list, it might be the very bottom below Wildcat. That's the coaster Wildcat was giving me flashbacks to. It traumatized me so much that is flashback inducing. Raging Wolf Bob's was my first coaster. It's a wooden coaster. It's a bit janky, or was a bit janky. Now it doesn't exist. So it'd probably be up here somewhere around American Thunder. I'd probably rank it right there. Big Dipper is super fun. It was a airtime machine, ran through the entire park of Geauga Lake. It would probably be down here by Racer. And then the kiddie coasters that I rode but didn't rank were Great Pumpkin Coaster, Junior Gemini / Wilderness Run, and Woodstock Express at Cedar Point. So that ranks me up 7 coasters that I rode but no longer exist. So I've ridden 56 coasters here. So that brings me up to 6 and 7, 13, 63 coasters I've ridden total. This thing auto-saves as you do it, so I don't have to save my coasters. Oh, here's the count up here. So there we go. Adventure Express is number 1 still. Then Gemini, then the Beast, Mystic Timbers, and Magnum XL rounding out my number 5. With Mad Mouse, Backlot Stunt Coaster, the Bat, Voyage, and Ravine Flyer 2 rounding out the top 10. These ones surprised me. I wasn't sure what was going to be down here, honestly, when I started doing this list. So yeah, what do you guys think? Have you ridden any of these or any of these parks you've been to? Do you have any suggestions for me? Later this year in December, we're planning on going to King's Dominion, which will only have 2 coasters open because of holidays, and then Six Flags Great Adventure. I think that's the Six Flags in New Jersey. Six Flags has a lot of similar names. So I'm excited to add that to this year's coasters I've ridden this year, but like they won't be on this list because the rankings stop in November and we're going in December. Bit of a flaw in this list also. So yeah, let me know what your favorite rides are. Did you love or hate anything? Did you agree, disagree? Do your own rankings. Feel free to share them. Yeah. Thanks guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. I know this is a super long video. It's probably almost 2 hours long of me filming. That was also a lot of dogging. So thanks for hanging out with me, guys. Okay, guys. Peace out. I love you. And keep reading and I guess keep riding coasters. Go find something that allows you to scream. I highly recommend it. It's great. All right. Bye.